All right, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Macha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. Real quick, I just want to answer this question here. All right, that one of the brothers left on the comment board. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay, this is from Bavmo. He says, I need to study more. How do I read precept upon precept? Now, I believe I might have mentioned that in the video, all right, that I did, I think it was earlier today. So I might have mentioned that in there about precept upon precept, which is why, I'm guessing he was asking that. Now I'm going to go into it. All right, Lord's willing, I can answer his question and edify, the sheep out there as well. All right, as to what it means to really read precept upon precept, because precept upon precept, that's how you understand the Bible. Okay, because for the most part, you got to speak the Bible language. Like when you take, if you're in math class, all right, there's certain terms you would use, all right, as opposed to being in maybe because I'm taking computer science right now. In there's certain terms like you might see a symbol that you would see in math class, but they mean completely different things. Okay, so you might see an equal sign, which in math, if 1 equals 1, that means that 1 equals 1. Okay, or if x equals y, that means what you have in y, you have the same in x. But in computer science, the same equal sign now means something else. So in computer science, if you have x equals y, it means you're assigning y to x. X is like a container for y. So I say that to say that you can have the same symbol meaning different things in different classes or different systems. Now, it's like that when it comes to the scriptures. Okay, when you see a certain word, or when you see a certain phrase or a certain precept, that's why the scriptures say don't use your own vain understanding. You have to go into the scriptures and see what does the Bible define that name or term or phrase as. Okay, so if you see the word the wicked, all right, you don't just use your mind to say, okay, well, because I know or what I think wickedness is, I'm gonna define, all right, or you plug that into the precept that talks about the wicked, and well, then that means that the wicked is talking about anybody that does something bad. No, you have to go into the Bible and find out what the Bible defines the wicked as. Who are the wicked according to the scriptures? And once you know that, you can plug that in or substitute that into the precept you are reading already. Okay, so the same way you can't go to computer science and think that just because you know what an equal sign means in math class, you're going to use that same knowledge in computer science. No, you're going to fail. Okay, and that's why you have to use precepts, because precepts, and that's why often you'll see us jump from one book to another book, to another book, because we know where the puzzle pieces are. So when we're trying to paint the picture, we go here, and then we jump to this book to get this puzzle piece. Then we jump to that book to get that puzzle piece, and we put it together so you understand what we're saying. Okay, now this is Psalms chapter 119, verse 104. It says, hey, shalom to those on the comment board. It says, through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. All right, and the scriptures are really made of precepts. All right, what you see right here, this line right here, this is a precept. Okay, this is a precept. This is a precept. All right, the whole book is comprised of precepts. Okay, and so King David said, what? Through thy precepts I get understanding. Okay, now this is this is going to be the headline scripture. All right, for today, Isaiah 28 verse 10. It says, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. And that's why you'll see us get a couple of precepts from one book and jump to another book to get a couple of precepts from there, and then jump to another book to get a couple of precepts from there. But what we're doing is we're forming a paragraph with sentences from different books. if you can understand what I'm saying. So we'll start off with let's say we're in the book of Isaiah, we'll get a precept. And then we'll go to the book of Revelation and get a precept. Then we'll go to a book of Joel and get a precept. And what we're doing is we're building that explanation or the answer by getting you precept upon precept, okay, line upon line, a little from Revelation, a little from Joel, a little from Isaiah, and we're putting it together so you can understand it. Because that's how the Bible is written. The Lord deliberately had certain prophets see certain things, write down certain things, so that in the end days, here we are at the end, we can look at the whole picture and say, okay, the materials I need to answer this question are in the Old Testament in this book. The materials I need in addition to that are in this book, are in that book, and then we can put it together and understand the whole thing. So now with that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of examples, okay, of what I mean. A couple of examples of how to use precept upon precept to understand the scriptures, okay? So in essence, I'm going to be using the Bible to explain itself, all right, or to explain certain questions, all right? So I just noted down a few examples here that I'm just going to go by. Okay, first we'll start with okay, let's start with this question here. First, let me find the precept, 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8 or so. All right. So now let's say the question is, okay, let's go to Genesis. Actually, let me just type it in. On the seventh day. All right. So now I'm going to show you an example of what I mean by this once this loads. Okay. So we're going to go to Genesis chapter 2, verse, we could start at verse 1. Okay. So it says here, thus the heavens and the earth were finished and all the host of them. This is talking about creation. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. All right. It says, and God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Now the question is, okay, so if somebody was to ask you, how long did it take for the world to be created? You'll say 7 days, right? Because it says here on the seventh day God ended his work. All right, because it took him 7 days, right? Really, we know that the word God, all right, in the Hebrew is Elohim, which means it's plural. Because when you, which I'm not going to go into that lesson right now, but just to give you the quick answer of it, here is not talking about a he specific, because it's English, the pronoun is he, but really it should say they. All right, because according to the scriptures, another precept will explain that it was the Lord Yahushai, the Son of the Most High, and the angels who really created the earth and everything in it with the blueprints of the Most High. Okay, but like I said, I'm not going to go into that right now. But we're for the sake of answering the question, we're just going to go with how it's written. So the question is now, how long did it take God to create the world? And you'll say 7 days. But the actual answer is 7,000 years. Okay. Now, for somebody who's never read this precept that I'm about to read in 2 Peter 3 and 8, or they've read it, but they never thought of it the way I'm about to explain it to you, they might think, what are you talking about 7,000 years? You're adding to the scriptures. Aha, you're guilty. No, I'm using the scriptures to explain the scriptures. So why do I say it took 7,000 years when it says here that it took 7 days? Well, now we need to understand how the Bible defines a day for God. Okay, so this is 2 Peter 3 verse 8. It says, now notice, we in order to answer a question, we're going from the book of Genesis, which is in the beginning, Bara'ashiath in the headings, all the way to 2 Peter, which is all the way in the New Testament. All right, just so we can answer that one question. You see, so we're getting a precept here, and we're going to jump to this book to get a precept here. All right, a little bit from Genesis, a little bit from 2 Peter to explain or answer the question. So 2 Peter 3 verse 8, it says, but beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day, keyword, one day with I'll read it again. That one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. Slocky, give me 1 second. All right. One day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. What does this mean? That means that one day to the Lord in our time is 1,000 years. Okay. And 1,000 years in our time is as one day to the Lord. Okay. So now let's go back to Genesis with that understanding that a day for the Lord, a day in the Lord's time is 1,000 years in our time. Okay. So let's go back to Genesis. It says what? And on the seventh day, all right, God ended his work. So it doesn't say on the seventh day we ended our work. It says on the seventh day God ended his work. So we know that what? God's days to us are 1,000 years. So on the seventh day really means in the 7,000th year. Okay. So if it took God 7 days, all right, 7 days for God, that means that for us, it would have been 7,000 years. Thus, the correct answer, okay, to explaining that question of how long did it take to create the world would be 7,000 years. All right. And that is an example of using a precept upon another precept to explain or get the understanding of what it means in the Bible. Okay. And I have a couple of more examples. All right. Just like that, just to go into it. Let's go. I'm gonna start with the easy ones. All right. So let's get Job chapter 9, verse 24. And the corresponding precept will get Malachi chapter 1, verse, I'll just click 1. Okay. So this is Job chapter 9, verse 24. It says, the earth, it's like, all right. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Now, actually, I can go to two precepts, all right, to back up or explain what the scripture is saying here. So just like when you write an essay, all right, you gotta get your supporting details, and then you gotta cite it. That's what we're doing here. We're getting our supporting details and we're citing it. All right. So a supporting detail to answer the question in Job 9 and 24 of who is that wicked that the earth has been given into their hand will be Malachi 1 and 1. This is my supporting evidence to explain who this wicked is. All right. So and the next evidence or the next precept would be Genesis 27. All right. And 38. Now, back to Job 9 and 24. Once all right. Should be back. Okay. So uh Lord's willing it continues working now and it doesn't, keep shutting off, so on and so forth. All right, I'm just waiting to see if it pops up here. All right. Okay. Should be back. All right, we're good. I'm gonna try to go through it real quick. So for the sake of this thing acting up before it does it again, this is gonna be the last example that I'm gonna get. All right. Showing precept upon precept. So this is Job 9 and 24. So now we're trying to understand who is the wicked. All right. Well, the wicked is Esau. Okay. Who and Esau today, all right, is known as Is known as the so-called white man, all right, or the Caucasian race, which we can prove that, which by using precept upon precept again. Which if you go on my page and you scroll through, all right, I did a video a while back, a couple of weeks ago, explaining how we can use the Bible to trace or to identify the so-called white man today as Esau in the Bible. Okay, so you can watch that and then it will explain it using precepts. All right. So the wicked is Esau. Well, how do we know that? Malachi. Let's jump to it. Uh, all right, Malachi chapter 1. And I'm just gonna close down Job 24 the tab so that it can move. Yeah, that's just Satan.